Wrap the aluminum foil, name and class code on a piece of tape on the back, then tear your paper. Set out your strips and get paper mache on the front and the back. Remember, the paper mache paper will not stick to the aluminum foil. It will only stick to other paper mache. You can see here I'm kind of squishing up some and creating some form with the paper mache itself. Making the nose a little bigger here. I like to go horizontal one time and then vertical the next time. Try to do a lot of different directions so that it is a lot stronger. I used some thin cardboard to create my ears. The thing about paper mache is it's a lot of experimentation. So I did not know exactly how to do this when I was doing it, but I just kept on trying things to see what would work and learned what made it stronger, kind of just experimented a lot and stretched and explored. Long and thin strips work pretty well because they are a bit flexible. You can wrap pretty well like tape, and they're just easier to keep smooth. So one of the things you do want to focus on when you're doing a paper mache is smoothness, especially if you want to maybe paint it later. A smooth surface will give you a better canvas to express yourself. Washing your hands with soap and water when you've been using paper mache is actually really messy, so it's better to use a paper towel to wipe your hands off, just dry them off, and the table, and then just kind of rub them together until they stop being sticky. Now, I did notice when I came back after letting it dry that some of the papers didn't seem to adhere super well, so I was reflecting on that, and I'm not sure if the paper I'm using is the best for paper mache, so experimentation is a huge part of the art process. So when I am making art, whether it be something I don't do a ton like paper mache or something I do a lot like painting, I will continue to figure out things that do and do not work and play with them and work with them, and at the same time just be nice to yourself when it doesn't work, because stretching beyond what you've done and what you're completely comfortable with is going to be hard, and you won't always do it perfectly, but it's not really about that. It's about learning how you can make it work in a way that is interesting and expressive. So I hadn't really liked the way that paper worked, and so after reflecting, I decided to try to use paper towels to smooth it out a lot better and kind of finish it out, which it does work pretty well. Though the different texture did impact the final product. Cleaning my hands with that water. All right, write my name again, wrap the aluminum foil. This time I'm trying something I have not done before. I'm stretching into fabric. I had a suspicion that I would not necessarily be able to cut through this as easily as paper in the paper mache, so I tried to leave holes in the mask, like you can see here. I am dipping the fabric in the paper mache and then squeezing it out. I found that painting the top and the back wasn't working very well, and so this absorbed a lot better. You can use this method for paper as well. I soaked this yarn in the paper mache paste just to try and see if this would work. I had no idea if it would work or not. I just thought it might be kind of fun and kind of pretty if it did. So after it dried, I pulled off the aluminum foil so that I could gently take off the mask, and then I switched my name to the actual mask, since I'll be returning the plastic part. This one fell right off, so you could just leave the aluminum foil on there. There's no reason not to, but do take your name and put it on the mask. So find your eyes, just mark where it is so you know where to put the holes. And now I'm drawing the shape of the eyes I want, and kind of figure out how to cut them out. Just be careful not to poke yourself. You're gonna wanna trim the edges, make it look nice. And the paper mache was pretty thick, so I had to use a needle to poke the holes before I could poke the elastic ends through. I really like the way the watercolors work on this mask. They allow a lot of layering and they are pretty colorful. With the white color in the background, the translucent nature of the watercolors really makes it shine. So that's why I chose that. But you could use tempera paint, you could use markers and Sharpies, you could create sculptural elements with paper and cardboard. I wanted to give you a little insight into my exploration here with how in the world to make a hole through this very tough paper mache fabric. I thought the scissors were great, but they seemed a little dangerous to do that way. I tried using a needle, but it was too small and it wasn't strong enough to go through, so I tried my mechanical pencil. I don't think I'd recommend that as it might break it, but it didn't really work really well anyway. So I was like, what in the world do I do? This is not working. Kept on trying. Sometimes that's what happens. You try and try. And sometimes it will work. And then sometimes you have to figure out a different path. I'm trying a paper clip and then scissors again, and nothing is really working. And finally, I realized that if I pinched the fabric between fingers, I could use the scissors more safely to create a hole. And trust me, it is very satisfying to come up with a solution by yourself.